Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Kathmandu Coast to Coast podcast, season 6, episode 4. Of course, the podcast designed to get all of you people out there that have got an entry into this fabulous race safely from the west coast of New Zealand all the way across to the east coast. We're gonna do some running. We're gonna do some biking. We're gonna paddle our walkers down the Waimakariri River, and of course finish at Brighton Beach. Some of you will finish all that in one day. Some of us will take 2 days. Richard Greer, welcome back to another Kathmandu Coast to Coast podcast.
Great start there, Angus. Yeah, thank you. It's great to be back. And we're also going to eat lots along the way, aren't we? We're going to, it's an eat-a-thon basically, and that's what we're going to talk about on the podcast today, all about nutrition. What are some tasty snacks? What's some good food you should be eating? But try and break that down so you can make sure you make the most of your time and hopefully still smiling as you cross the finish line as well.
Well, eating is something I am reasonably good at, Richard.
What was fatigue night, Angus?
Well, you know what was fatigue, because I was trying to scoff it down before we came live here, mate. A bit of pizza.
You've still got some left.
We'll try and make sure there's nothing in the mower, right? Like, yeah. No, as we're sitting back there waiting to go live, a couple of bits of pizza and a can of Coke. It's the best way to start a nutrition podcast, isn't it? Really.
Yeah, we might get some feedback on that potentially, but yeah, just give us a bit of a rundown about the training, Angus. How you've been getting on,
mate? Training. Where is training at? Training has been blimmin' difficult just in the last few weeks. To be fair, I think last time we talked, I might have been on a bit of a roll and we were getting a bit of cycling done and starting to come good. And last 3 weeks have been pretty much a write-off. Probably haven't really done a lot in the last 3 weeks.
Okay.
And
all right, yep.
Unfortunately, this is that whole work balance thing, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And it's coming into Christmas, and we've talked about this on the podcast many a time before too, about this Christmas period, and people are busy at work and all those sort of things, and trying to balance it. And unfortunately, I am just a recreational athlete, so sometimes the work has to come first to fund all the lovely things we love to do on the weekend. So better focus there, but also unfortunately picked up a bit of a cold as well. So just dragging my way through that. So just trying to deal with that sickness thing and try not to do too much to aggravate that. So it's probably on the down at the moment, but that's okay, because that only means we can peak and go up, mate.
That's right. Maybe you should have some broccoli with your pizza. That might help.
Get the vegetarian one, you think?
Something like that.
We'll
ask Marewa. Is there anything that Angus can do to help him from getting sick? So later on. But that is rough being sick, isn't it? It's just not fun. It's just, and it derails your training, and you're like, what am I doing here? I'm motivated, but I've just got so much on. I just can't get any momentum, because you were going well last time. So that's just frustrating, isn't it?
Well, I suppose I've actually really got a question for you too, because I was going okay, knowing that I was the weakest link, and you'll just run because that's what you do. We've got no doubting that you're going to storm that hill like a mountain goat, as you do. And I thought, we had our secret weapon. Ben Fui was our secret weapon, who was actually going to get all the time back that you and I bleed to all the other competitors along the way. Is that a go? What's happened?
Yeah, that's
right. On the street, it's not.
Well, yeah, just of this week.
Who's going to carry?
Ben is unwell, so he's not going to be able to race with us. So yeah, we've got a big gap in our team, like a big gap, because he was sort of our key weapon. Because I've started to running. I'm not by any stretch ready to go yet, but hopefully we should go right on race day and go and have a crack. But yeah. So I'm not sure. So
yes or no question. Yes or no question. Do we have a kayaker? Yes or no? Yes or no? Do we have a kayaker?
How good's your kayaking?
No, my kayaking's no good.
Okay, so it's no two-person team going on.
No good.
Okay, right. So therefore, we don't have a kayaker.
If we're a no,
unless hang on, unless you want to run, we could do a two-person team, and you could be the runner.
Why don't we just do this? We've got an entry. We've got an entry for a 3-person 2-day team. We're short a kayaker. We need somebody. And I'm sure this community can come up good.
Please,
surely the goodness we must be able to find.
That's right. If your name starts with Lisa and ends in Carrington, more than happy to hear from you as well.
Yeah, that would be. I mean, that's a good option. Anybody else Glen was thrown his name in the hat and then said he was busy on that day. He had something else on. Not sure quite what, but anyway, sounded like an excuse, really. But
exactly. Oh, so
actually,
yeah.
Actually, I was just thinking about his brother. Actually, even
his brother does tend to go okay with like 6 days preparation or something like that. Was it maybe less than that?
Yeah. Okay, so there it is, people. We are short a kayaker. It's not devastating yet. We're not sunk as per se just yet, but we'll have to just work on what we're going to do there.
That's right. So we'll leave that one open. Let us know if you've got someone that wants to maybe potentially join our team, and ideally someone that can carry us. But hey, we'll take anybody.
That was the idea, right?
That was the idea. But anyway, handbook chat. Angus, you like, what are we now? We're coming into December. You probably read the handbook a number of times by now, sort of put you sleep at night. How's your general knowledge of the handbook?
First of all, I'm still waiting for the audio book. Matt Sherwood. Still waiting for the audiobook version. Look, my knowledge of the handbook is okay, mate. It's okay.
Okay, so a bit of a pop quiz.
I specialise in a couple of areas.
Do you? Okay, so cycling question, because that's the plan. How many cyclists wide? Like, how many is it? 1 abreast, 2 abreast, 3 abreast, 4 abreast? What are you trying to? What's the rules there in the handbook of how wide you're allowed to ride on the road?
Is this multi-choice, and can I phone a friend?
No, you can't do either. Do you know it or not?
Okay. Two, Richard. We're going to go with two. 2 is my answer.
Okay.
As per any other day that you're riding your bicycle on the road, mate, I'm gonna pluck from the sky my memory, and sometimes a page just blends into a page. But is it 17?
17 is correct. Well done, Angus. You've done well. You've obviously spent a bit of time in the handbook. Well done.
Oh.
Yeah, very good.
No, a single two.
Yeah. Well, we better not hang around too long. Are you going to go again?
Oh, okay. All right.
We'll save some more handbook chat for later on.
Test you? Is that what we're saying? Like one, I'll give you one later on. I'll rustle up a question. I'll rustle up a question in between time, and we'll talk about it a bit later, and I'll see how good you go.
Sounds good. Let's chat to Glen Currie, shall we?
We shall. Glen Currie, race director of Kathmandu Coast To Coast. Welcome, mate. Welcome back.
How are you guys?
Yeah, good. Thanks. How's your paddling, Glen?
Bloody good.
Well, it used to be okay, but you might have left me a little bit short, and yeah, we did discuss whether I could get it done quick enough, and then probably get to the other jobs that I need to do on the day. So Angus is the man to talk to about that, by the sounds. But yeah, I'm sure you will find someone.
It'll be good thinking time, though.
What's that? Sorry.
It'd be good thinking time. Just how sometimes you just need that little bit of time out just to gather your thoughts. It'd be a good 4 and a bit hours to do that.
Yeah, well, yeah, it'll be nice. There might be a few of the crew that wouldn't be too happy if I was out of radio contact for 4.5, 5 hours. But yeah, I'd probably quite enjoy it, to be honest.
5.
3.5, isn't it? There's radio stations on the way down the Waimea. You guys could just check in at each change session, make sure it's under control. Anyway, we'll move on, Glen. I'm sure you could, but I want to talk to you about this wait list. That was probably the big news since we talked to you last. So it's no longer, basically. So can you talk us through that decision? Is there a number of people that were kind of just teetering on the edge of being the next one in line, and were pretty keen to see that entry and training and preparing, I guess, as if they were going to do that based on the last couple of years of what's happened on that wait list? So can you talk us through that and give us a bit of an understanding of what's happened there?
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, we obviously create a wait list back in February or March when the entries go live, and we have a bit of a pattern after 5 years of creating this wait list on how many numbers we're going to go through before the event throughout the year, and we call it churn in terms of what churn's going to occur. So we do a bit of maths around that, and we know, like when we're going to be able to offer entries, and generally, how many pull out at certain times of the year. We do build a bit of backup into our system back in February, March. So, anyone would be wise to, and as everyone knows, what our numbers come down to is based on that concession over Goat Pass. So we build a bit of fat in the system above what that concession is, so that we can make sure that on the day we've got as many people able to do the event as possible. From there, we watch the churn and we can offer our entries as we go. Now, usually in sort of September, October, we have a large churn, and then we can offer out a lot of people entries on the wait list. This year, we didn't have any churn at all. So basically, we're at a position where we can almost guarantee that we're going to be full on race day. So the decision then came down to us saying, well, do we keep that wait list going with a fair knowledge that we're not going to be able to offer any more spaces out, or do we just go out and tell people now, like, sorry, unfortunately this won't be your year, and we will offer you priority into 2026. However, we're pretty sure at this stage you won't be getting an entry. So if you've got something else on your list you want to go tick, start focusing on that now. And I think personally, from my point of view, I'd rather know earlier so that I can adapt my plans if necessary and look for another event that I can chase. And it's just the way it is. If you'd asked me back in June, I probably would have said that we were going to get right through our wait list back then, and we were going to be looking at potentially opening entries again. But we just didn't have the withdrawals we usually do. We come up with these patterns every year, and every year there's some area that seems to challenge us around those. So that's where we're at. We're basically like, we know in our system that we're probably come January or the end of December, we just won't have any places in that concession to offer. So we made the decision that it was better to let people know now so that they could look for other opportunities. And I do particularly feel for those people that were near the top of that wait list, because they were probably had convinced themselves that there was a fair chance they were going to get a shot. But yeah, it's just a tough thing where where we are an event that is limited in terms of what we can offer. So every year we manage it as well as we can, but it is a challenge to get it perfect. So we're sorry about that, but we just don't have the spaces. That's what it comes down to.
And those people will be locked in for 2026 as a result of that?
Yeah, so they get the opportunity to enter for the 2026 event. A priority entry is what we've given those people on the wait list. Outside of the only one outside of that is the tandem category, just due to the numbers on there.
Yeah, it was clearly due to our last podcast on injury prevention. Maybe we did too good a job on that.
Yeah, you must have. I don't know what's gone on this year, but everyone's obviously fit and healthy and ready to go, which is fantastic for those people that are entered. It's great news. So, so it's a good thing.
Yeah. So give us some other updates. There's always things developing, changing, adapting, improving, etc. What else is going on? Is there anything else you want to share with entrants for 2025?
Yeah, so we're sort of we're in operations mode now. So we're sort of working on our planning. So met with all the teams 2 weeks ago. So we go through, we have a debrief, and then we come up with things that we want to change into the following event. And we have the year to go and put those changes into place. And so now we're at the stage where we meet again to say what changes we've made, and we're all happy to roll them out to try to make, as always, try to tweak the event to make it as smooth as possible. So I suppose probably starting with the 2-day event, just a slight change on the Saturday morning at Klondike Corner. We are going to send cyclists off 15 minutes earlier. The reason being is so that we can get people down and onto the river sort of at first light, and then at the other end of it actually get cars out of the Mount White parking area a little bit earlier. And that allows us, when the longest day competitors to come in, hopefully we've got a fair chunk of those 2-day competitors out with that 15-minute buffer, just to give us a little bit extra time to get those cars out. I always talk about that area as, for us as the organisers, and I'm sure spectators see it as well, as the most challenging area of the whole course, where we have sort of the whole event come together, and there's a lot of vehicles and there's a lot of moving parts in that one area. So it is really logistically challenging, and there's not a lot of options around those challenges, but this is one slight one that we're going to do. For the 2-day competitors, that does mean that you will need your front and rear lights on in that ride for that second day, that first ride. A lot of competitors do anyway, which is great, but they will be compulsory on the start line this year for all competitors, just due to that slightly earlier start. So make sure your lights are charged that night if they are USB, etc., and make sure they're on your bikes. Continue on with the 2 day. We've always had a rule that if you do finish after basically 6 o'clock, you are required to wear a high-vis vest and have lights on your bike as well for that final ride. This year, anyone finishing after 7 o'clock will be provided with a vest that we provide, high-vis vest, and they'll also provided with lights that we provide. We found last year a number of competitors in that last ride, they had probably rechargeable lights and they put them on, and halfway through the ride, their lights actually went flat. So they'll be provided with fresh lights from our end, and we're just not that comfortable with the nature of the vest people are wearing. So we will be providing you one that we're more comfortable with for that final ride, just to make more people more visible for later on at that night. So it's just for those people at 7 o'clock. You will be provided with, or your support crew will, with lights they have to put on their bikes, and you'll be provided with a vest that we supply, high-vis vest, for that final ride.
That's a great safety initiative.
Yeah, it's awesome, and yeah, well done. Is it going to be flappy, like that's the thing, the old workman's high-vis orange vest, or are we going to go aero? What have you come up with?
It'll be at as zero as it is, Richard. But we looked at a number of vests that people were bringing, and they just don't cut the mustard. And if you actually look at which ones work best in the dark, and it seems to be those sort of like the largest sort of work site ones, but we will make them as small as possible. So I imagine that anyone coming in at 7 o'clock at night is probably not going to be too deterred by the 0.1% aero factor of their vest at that time of day. But it is just another safety goal. We did get a lot of feedback about cyclists on that. Like, we did have a southerly, so it was darker than usual, but we got a lot of feedback about cyclists not being able to be seen on that final ride. So we're going to cover that gear. In the longest day, one major change that'll probably for a lot of people is that the Klondike Corner transition, and we did this during the year of COVID, will be self-supported. So it'll be similar to a triathlon. So competitors will get a designated area to rack, and we will have a plan where their bikes will rack. So it'll sort of be important for competitors to know where their bike is racked prior to the event, and we'll put that out where it'll be racked in that transition. Support crews will need to leave any nutrition that the competitor wants for that second ride on their bike, as well as their helmet and shoes on the bike in the rack. When competitors come in, it'll be as per triathlon transition. They'll be required to remove their bike, put their gear on themselves, and then carry on into that second ride. They'll be able to leave their running gear at their bike site, which our crew will clear up and then return to the finish line and take to their prize giving the next day if it's not picked up from the finishing line. So there'll be no outside assistance at Klondike Corner. Concept that is basically, there's not a lot there that you can do. It also assists us in getting support crews and the likes to actually head to Mount White Bridge and set up there and remain there and not have to actually come back to Klondike. So we're finding a lot of traffic is going down and setting up and then coming back through to Klondike, which is actually causing major issues with the riders that are on the road coming through. So there's no need really, once you go down to Mount White, to return back to Klondike for that transition, because you can't actually assist, and you'd be better off to have one of your crew down at the river with the boat and one at the top of the road, so you can still assist with that run down to the kayak. So it'll just be a little bit more planning for those athletes to make sure the nutrition that they want in that middle ride is on their bike ready to go. And most people do that anyway, like they have it set up so they can eat on that middle ride. So yeah, that's just a slight tweak too, just to manage some of that traffic. Really, then majority of it is the stuff that's returning back to Klondike Corner from Mount White. Nice. There's three one-way bridges on that ride. We've got a lot of traffic going the other way as well, trying to get around those riders. So it is a busy little part of the whole course. So just hopefully it'll reduce a bit of traffic coming east to west. Nice.
I think that's a great initiative. And medical requirements, is there something that extra you need there from participants?
So just medical wise, it is a rule, and it's just to make all competitors clear that we do have the right to stop any competitor if we've got medical concerns. If they resist, then they are they're breaking the rules basically. And anyone we do often have competitors that are assisted during a stage with medical requirements. If they are assisted, they will need to be checked in the following transition before they can carry on to the next to the next stage before they're allowed to carry on. It just gives us time. Just gives us time. Often when someone is dealt with during a leg, it's quite rushed, and we don't get a full concept of how bad they are, particularly in the area of concussions. So to stop them in transition allows us to make sure we do a proper check before we do set them out and set them on the course. And that's mainly prior to the mountain run and prior to the kayak, where if they do carry an injury onto those stages of the course, it is very challenging for us to deal with it, I suppose.
Yeah, I like it. And injury, like obviously that'll be radio forward through the course, so you know that those people are coming and numbers to look out for. And often those injuries, you can kind of scrape yourself off the ground and keep going, and then you in half an hour, 2 hours later, like, oh, what am I doing here? So those injuries will become more aware of those closer to the transition. So it makes sense.
Yeah, that's it. And there's a lot of it. Like we all operate on adrenaline really well, and often that wears off. And if it wears off halfway up the Deception River, it is a challenge. It's better that we deal with it back in transition than up there, and potentially it might make the difference for a few competitors about them finishing their race or not, that check, in transition.
Yep, like it, Glenn. Nice work. Anything else to share before we shoot the gap?
No, great to see. Yeah, I actually went to an event in Waimate today, and I think I probably counted about 6 vehicles looked like they were heading in the direction of the Waimak, so to get out kayaking, and I'm getting lots of feedback that the river's running well and people are out into it. Yeah. It's great. It gets us excited when we start seeing that, and means the event's coming around. And here in Canterbury, we've actually had not too bad a spring, so I think people have been getting a bit of action out on the river and over the run. So I hope everyone's enjoying their training, and now's when the fun starts really. And we were talking about, we could see the kayaks loaded on the vehicles, and 4 people, 4 kayaks jammed in and 4 people in the car. And that's what the event's about is these days now. And, really enjoy that process now, because jumping in that car and going for a mission with friends or new friends and going to do that stuff, that's the coolest part of the event. So it's now where all the fun happens. And then obviously getting a pie at the finish after the run in the kayak, or, and it doesn't matter where you are in the country or the world. See if you can find some like-minded people if you're in the North Island or if you're in Aussie, and get them together and get out and have an adventure, and then, go and eat some calories afterwards. That's what it's about, is making those stories, and that's the part of the race you will remember, as well as crossing that finish line, hopefully. So cool to see. Yeah, and we're getting pumped for another one.
Good job. Well done, Glenn. Love your work, and cool for you to be able to see that boats on roofs, and as you're trying to figure out what boat they are as they sort of head to the river. That's awesome. Good fun.
Yeah, it's good. It was good to see people kayaking on moving water, and I want to hear stories about people out cycling in bunches, and I'll be happy.
Well, I was on a coffee roll the other day. It'll be a couple of weeks ago now, and we ended up in Sumner, and it was actually Sandra and I, and we were sitting at the table having a little coffee and cake. And there was another table just over to the side, and a guy that's done a couple of coasts, he was there, and he had sort of 2 or 3 others, and there was some really good, healthy coast-to-coast chat going on, and talking about the water and talking about cycling and so obviously some knowledge being spread through to some of the new people, and it was really cool. We just sat over in the corner and listened intently as some of the stories and the knowledge of Coast to Coast was getting shared on to that next lot of people there that were obviously entered for this year. So that was quite cool to sit and listen to.
Yeah, that's awesome. And there is a lot of knowledge out there. I mean, these podcasts, you can dig deep into the archives of these, and there's plenty of knowledge. But I mean, with social media, you can put a post out there, and there's plenty of people with lots of concepts and ideas, and it's not hard to find information today. If you are confused about something about the event, read the handbook, and then go out and see if you can find. There's plenty of knowledge and ideas and things out there. So get amongst it. Enjoy the adventures, and hopefully this weather maintains. And Sam Clark's coming back, which I'm excited about too. He's a bit of a legend of the race. We're pretty pumped to see him back on the start line as well. So he'll no doubt bring some form of entertainment in the race and outside of it as well. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Really, we'll give someone, their pointy end of the field will be super competitive with him he only comes for one reason. So that's going to be super fun to follow his journey and see how that goes.
Yeah, that's right. So that'll be cool.
Good job. Well done, Glenn.
Thanks, up soon. We'll talk soon.
Thanks, Glenn.
See ya.
Bye.
What reason are we going for?
Well, it depends on what sort of kayak we get.
You just say, family goes for one reason. I'm just curious as to what our reason is that we're going, Rich.
Oh, we have a good time. There's no doubt about that. It just depends on if we've got a kayak or not.
Just before we go to our next guest, just speaking of knowledge and sharing and things, just want to touch on quickly, if you're in Christchurch Wednesday night, the Team CP Wednesday night roadies, and man, has that been successful this year so far. We've had, 40-odd people there each night turning up, learning how to bunch ride, getting some new skills there, and also a few interval hits and things along the way.
Yeah, that's right. 40, 50, yeah, great numbers, fantastic. And as a result of that, we can kind of cater for the faster people at the front and also the people that are just learning at any level as well, because we've got a good spread of abilities as well. So if you're new to riding a bike, definitely come along and see us, and we'll help you out and make sure that you turn up to race day start with some confidence and understanding about how to ride in a group, and you can enjoy your day out.
If I'm in Christchurch or I'm in Canterbury or I'm in somewhere close, how do I find it, Rich?
The best way is probably jump on our website. And if that doesn't make sense, if you go cross-eyed, just flick me a message and I'll respond. But basically, PMH 6 p.m. on a Wednesday evening. And we've also got some Sunday rides happening as well.
Nice one.
Good job.
Should we turn our focus to Across the Ditch, mate?
Yeah, I think so. Corinne, she's doing the Coast to Coast 2-day for the first time in a tandem team with her partner, Matt. How you doing, Corinne?
Yeah, great. Thank you.
It's a story. Hey, I'll introduce this because I actually got an email from your partner, Matt. You didn't know this until just now, but
no.
you're going, oh, God, what's just gone on? But
great.
Yeah, basically, it was good. It was really good doing a bit of research and sussing what you're up to. So basically, 2 years ago, you'd never done any paddling, never ridden a road bike, but you're an elite surf boat rower. So you used to go backwards fast in the surf.
Yeah. Yes, that's right. Yeah,
that's awesome. And so I guess the Coast to Coast has been a bit of a bucket list, and what do you do? So you got an entry at the start of this year, and training's been going pretty well as well. How have you been going?
Yeah, good. So we didn't get an entry straight off the bat. It was about April or May, I think, that we got our call up. And by then we thought, we'll probably be at the bottom of the wait list. But it was fantastic. Got an email out of the blue from Gemma. And things suddenly got very real. Had to put our money where our mouth is. But training's been going great. I really loved the challenge of multisport. I'm a bit of a ADHD. Love lots of different things. So, before you get bored with one thing, you've got another sport you've got to try and master. So, loving it.
Yeah, fantastic. You're also a member of our Coast to Coast Training Plan Plus group. How's that helped so far? How have you, because you've been into that and being part of the group there?
Yeah, it's been awesome actually. So from the surf boat days, I'm used to sort of having a structured training program, and we were training up to sort of 9 times a week as part of that. And I really didn't want to lose all that hard work because it's too hard to get fit. So the CP training plans just brought that structure back to my training, and I really enjoy the moving around in the week, looking at all of the different responsibilities that you've got and fitting those sessions in around it. Trusting the process and really enjoying it.
Good job. Having some fun on the way. That's awesome. So, but it's not just about training and sort of, can I actually do this race? As part of your journey to the Coast to Coast, you wanted to use it to create a bit of a larger change in your local community. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, definitely. So I live in Foster, which is about 4 hours north on the coast from Sydney in New South Wales, and beautiful area. Beautiful place that people come to holiday. But unfortunately, being regional, we've got a really high level of social and economic disadvantage. And we also have one of the highest rates of domestic and family violence on the mid-north coast here. And regional communities really struggle to get the funding they need to respond. A lot of the funding sits in the metros or with larger organisations, and having services on the ground in communities, in small communities, is really important to meeting the change. I thought, well, Coast to Coast is a bit of a bucket list. It's a bit of a once in a lifetime opportunity for a lot of us Aussies to be able to take part. So I thought, how can I use the journey to raise a bit of awareness along the way and set a pretty optimistic target of raising 1 year's worth of safe bed nights for women and children as part of the journey. So we're up to about 10,000 so far of a $54,000 target. But yeah, that's part of the journey. We're doing a few different things. Matt and I just did so the 240 Ks of the Coast to Coast, we're linking with the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. So that actually starts tomorrow. So this podcast is really timely.
Okay, good.
So across the globe, the 16 days of activism starts tomorrow through to the 10th of December. But we thought we'd link it to our journey by saying do 240 Ks however you can across those 16 days. So Matt and I did a little trial run. I just finished my 240 Ks in 9 days yesterday. But kicking off tomorrow, just trying to get a bit of peer fundraising, and anyone all over the world can join this 240 Ks in 16-day journey. And you can, like the Coast to Coast, you can ride, you can run, you can paddle, you can walk, whichever way you get yourself around, get yourself
Good
moving.
job. How do we find out more about that, and then also how do we follow your journey, your story?
Yeah, so the local shelter that I'm raising funds for is called Great Lakes Women's Shelter. So you can find out, or you can sign up for the challenge at GLWS for Great Lakes Women's Shelter.org.au/events, and you'll see our Coast to Coast journey there. But Matt and I are part of the Purple Panther multi-sport team. So we are complete novices at this social media stuff. But we have got a Instagram page called Purple_Panthers_C2C, where you can follow our journey and what we're trying to do as part of it. But yeah, full disclaimer that we're complete novices, and if you have any tips or advice when you look at our Instagram page, then we're open to feedback.
Yeah, that's awesome though. But it's great cause, and I guess explaining how you're doing that and why you're doing that. That's what it's all about, isn't it? And cool that you've got some momentum, and that's just going to build as you get closer and closer to the event.
Yeah, we've had some early support from some Coast legends. Dougal Allen got on board early and shared our first launch event. And we just thought we were superstars because Dougal Allen was following our Instagram
good.
page. Yeah, but really keen to get more followers as part of this, and also encourage the Coast community to come along and do the 240 Ks in 16 days, because you'll do it in far less. Just about most people ramping up their training at the moment. So put the challenge out there. Matt did his 240 Ks in 5 days, admittedly mainly on the bike. But put the challenge out there to Coast competitors as part of your training. It keeps you accountable, and it's a bit of fun too for a good cause.
Awesome, Corinne. That's so good. And what are you most looking forward to come race day, come Coast to Coast?
I think probably the paddle, honestly. So everything we look at, everything we read about, paddling down the Waimakariri, pristine water, the paddle is going to be one of the highlights. And we've spoken to some coasters who have said the 2 days are a great way to make sure you can look up and enjoy it without the strict timeframes of the 1 day. But also the adventure and the challenge. We're not naive in thinking that things won't go wrong and that there won't be obstacles we'll have to overcome as part of the journey. But we're looking forward to the challenge of it.
Yeah, so good. Yeah, that's awesome. Brilliant. Hey, thank you so much for joining us, Corinne. All the best for your journey, your fundraising, and keep enjoying your training. You're going super, super awesome, and looking forward to you getting over here and us cheering on as you get through the course. It's going to be awesome.
Thank you. We'll come over in January for a little recon.
I was just going to ask that. Do you get across here to have a look first, or is it all going to be one big great surprise on the day? But you're coming early, so
we're coming in January. Probably not as early as we would have liked, but it's when life allowed us to get over there. So hopefully we don't get completely shocked and go, we've only got 1 month to sort it out now. But it's all part of the journey. It'll be great. So
that's awesome. Brilliant. Hey, thanks heaps, Corinne, and we'll catch up soon.
Thanks heaps, guys. See ya.
Well done. See ya.
Yeah.
Just like that.
It's
240 Ks.
Yeah, there's always so many things going on, isn't there? That these events bring out some great rewarding stories, but results and the way that they're going about what they're doing and the reasons that they're doing it for. And I guess sometimes you think, these events, a lot of people are obviously there for a personal achievement, to win, to tick it off or whatever. But these events are just such a good platform for people to be able to do something like that and raise some money for a really good cause. And without these events, we've got to always remember that without these events, we lose a lot of opportunities to provide good to the communities.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yeah, and well done for Corinne for just going, okay, well, how can we make this bigger than just ourselves? And that's what's really motivating. And they will be super motivated come there for their training and for the race day, because it's not just about them, which is pretty awesome.
Well, speaking of not just about us, Richard, we've still got plenty of 2 guests to still come yet, and we're going to get I'm getting hungry, so I'm keen to talk nutrition sometime shortly to know what I can and can't eat. In the meantime, Tessa, where's Tessa? Is she still hiding here? It's a great lineup tonight, Richard. There she is. Welcome, Tessa. Welcome to the Kathmandu Coast to Coast podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Still here, so didn't go away.
You've done well, Tessa. Tessa, you work at Pure Sport Nutrition. What's your role with Pure?
Sales manager for Australasia. So all of the sales within New Zealand and Australia. Looking after sales team and making sure that all the shops are well stocked and well educated. So when you shop your Pure, they know everything about it, and can teach.
How's that looking at the moment? Is sales on the rise? Or are they on the plateau? Does it peak? Obviously, it peaks as these sort of events go on. Does it?
Oh, that's definitely from October onwards. You see events are popping up and marathons and coast to coast training and Ironmans, and there's definitely a line of increase in sales. So probably from October onwards till March, April is our high season. We're growing rapidly, and it's really exciting to be part of that journey.
Yeah, good stuff. That's awesome. You're coming to us today to talk about obviously Pure, but also Coast to Coast as well. So you're somebody that stood on the start line, the elite women's longest day field. How many times have you done the Coast to Coast before?
I've done the Coast to Coast 5 times, 3 times the longest day. I started off with a tandem, back in 2019, and did a 3-person team, and then went into longest day. So I've seen it from many different angles.
Have you entered for 2025? I
haven't.
Oh, I was going to say, you sound like you could.
No. 5 years of Coast to Coast, and I love the event. I'm going to be crewing for a really good girlfriend of mine. She's lining up for the longest day elite, Alice Mullins. So real excited for that, to be on that side. Crewing is harder almost than being the athlete.
Yeah, it is.
Making sure that everything is everywhere on time, and for sure.
Yeah, good stuff. So as an elite female athlete, over those years that you've competed in the event, so is it 3 longest day events?
Yes.
How's your nutrition changed over that time?
Quite a bit. I think in the first time, I really tried to get some solids in as well. But throughout the years, I really figured out I can't eat solid food when I'm exercising or racing. So you really try to find the nice middle way of, well, you don't want to be a liquid bottle and just only adding all your electrolytes and you do need some solids. So there's definitely a journey of trying to eat food on the bike ride, where now at Pure we do have a new item which we launched about a year ago, the race fuel, which almost sits in your stomach as solid food, and you don't feel like you have a water belly, but it gives you all the right energy. So it definitely has changed. In the past, I would have had food taped all over my boat. and you finish the kayak and it's still all taped over there because you actually can't eat. You've got your pedal in your hand, and it's like, yeah, the banana would have been really nice, but yeah, nah.
Just watching it the whole time. I really want to eat that, but I can't eat it.
I'm really hungry right now, but yeah, that's not working.
That's hard.
Yeah. And it's really choosing the right moment to eat. I think a great moment if you do want to eat some solids, or for me, it's in that middle bike ride from Klondike Corner to the start of the kayak. You really use that 15 kilometers to get some food in to set yourself up for success, but also make sure don't eat too much. And that you almost get a bit sleepy.
yes. Or sick, potentially, if you do to eat too much and then have to run down the river after that. Over those, I did a bit of research, actually, Tessa. I was like, let's just look through some results and see what you've been up to. And over the last 4 years, you're always one of the quickest home on the final bike leg. So nutrition's obviously a big part of that. So be really interesting to see how you manage your nutrition during the day, just to allow that to happen and allow you to be so strong on the bike at the last part of the race when most of us are probably failing.
Oh, you're just happy to come home, isn't it? But
really motivated.
Running on a pedal.
No, I think it's really important to start eating and fueling from that first hour on. So don't wait till like when you're on that run or when you hit Goat Pass. Like in that first hour, you kind of per hour you need to have that 60 to 90 grams of carbs to set yourself up for success. So really force yourself to get that fuel in. And I think that's been not the secret. It's definitely not the secret, but that really allowed me to feel really strong on that final bike leg. Nice.
What was your nutrition on the final bike leg? What was your actual nutrition? What did you do?
My final, I would love to say pure sports nutrition, but that last bike ride, I've got a bottle of Coke and Red Bull mixed up, and that's my final
that's
rocket fuel.
Fantastic.
But I always have a couple of gels, emergency gels and that sort of stuff. But by that time, of the day, you feel, you think of like, what am I looking forward to? I haven't had enough caffeine yet, so let's just all add it up and put it all in one drink bottle.
And then finish the race, and then pretty much start dancing after that. By the sounds of it, like you'll just be amping.
Basically,
pretty much. Have you had any nutrition? Have you had any nutrition fails that you've learned from?
Well, I think you always look back and you're like, I could have done that better. Actually, my first Coast to Coast in a tandem, we came into transition from the bike into the run, and it was not a fail. It's more of like an accident. My partner was supposed to give me a salt tablet or like an electrolyte capsule, and instead he gave me some sort of Barocca and just like, here, swallow with a sip of water. I vomited the entire run. It just all came up, and I couldn't hold anything in. So, poor Sarah, who I did the tandem with, she was just kind of guiding me through the run.
That's awful.
That was definitely not great. But other than that, I think I've definitely eaten on my first Coast to Coast longest day too much on that middle bike ride, and I was getting real sleepy at the start of the boat of the pedal. And I was just like, whoa. Probably also because you're going from a run into a bike and all of a sudden you sit down. In hindsight, I should have maybe had some caffeine or something, like a bit of a pick me up. It took me a good 10-15 kilometers. I was like, Tess, you're in a race. Like, get your head down.
That's right. Some hefty rapids to sort you out. They actually wake up. Hang on a second, I need to sort this out.
Exactly.
What pure sport nutrition products do you use on race day? We've got some Red Bull and Coke to finish off, which I understand. What actual products are you using this year?
Well, I've actually grabbed one of the packages. So I really used Pure. Can you see this? Pure Sport Nutrition Race Fuel. So that's 90 grams of carbs per drink bottle or per serve. And the main ingredient is cluster dextrin. And that's a quick absorbent, but a slow release of energy. And like I mentioned before, you want to have that 60 to 90 grams of carbs per hour. So it's really easy just to measure, 2-hour bike ride, 2 bottles of that. And for the run, because you have to pre-mix it, previous years I would have had 2 flasks in the vest, and you run through the river and you fill it up, and you've got your electrolytes sitting in there. But this, you do need to pre-mix it. So this year I decided to have 3.5 serves in a bladder in my pack already ready to go, and then I would just top it up with some water with a cup, and that actually really worked well. So that was my main fuel throughout the entire day. And knowing when Goat Pass come up, you will have a quick gel to have just that extra bit of pick me up. So I think probably throughout the day I consumed 6 gels, maybe 7. But the main, what really got me through the race was the race fuel.
Yeah, good stuff. Right. Okay. Nice. Yeah. Did you have any food as well?
I started eating on a hamburger from the bike to the kayak, but that was so dry, so I donated to the animals. And I think what else did I do? I did have a banana on the bike leg, on the middle bike leg. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, nice. Well done. Excellent, Tessa. Anything else to share before you carry on?
I think really, especially when it comes down to nutrition, try it on your training runs and really see, because everybody is different. What works for me doesn't necessarily work for someone else. And I've definitely done it in the past. You're like, do a training run through Goat Pass, and you basically bring a picnic, but that's not reality what you do on race day. So really try to do your electrolytes and your gels, and see what works for you and what works for your stomach.
Tessa, do your crew have a plan B or a second option, or do you like have, you've obviously got that down pat a little bit, that race nutrition along the way there, but do you have a secondary option, like, so when you arrive at a transition and shit may not have gone quite so well and you might not be in the best headspace, do you have a plan B there?
I definitely always carry a emergency Twix. I love a Twix. Yeah. And so there's always definitely, like, support crew always has something back up. If you've come from a stage that there's like, do you need something solid, or do you need this? No, I'm all good to go, and you just continue. There's always a backup plan for sure.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, good.
Nice work, Tessa. Hey, thank you so much for joining us. All the best with your adventures over the summer. And if you do happen to sort of find someone else to fill that spot to do the support crew, would love to chat more about kayaking.
We'll see. I've actually given my boat to someone else this season.
That's another reason that it's boatless. Okay, I'd really love to, guys, but sorry.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Oh, well, good luck finding that peddler.
We could do, Rich. Yeah. I a bit hesitant to say this, but if we prayed for the great rain, then we might not need a paddler. We might be able to ride our way. We might be able to do the alternate plan B route and not actually need a paddler. A bit risky.
So
bit of a risky.
You just do day 2 as a bike rider. I like it.
Yeah, it's a bit of a risky plan to go for this far out.
You might need to bring Jim Hickey out of retirement or something for that. Jeebus. Good stuff. Hey, thanks
so much for having me.
We'll catch up soon. Cheers.
See ya.
I was thinking that's because that's the old plan B is, as we talk about nutrition here, it's really important just to make sure that as you listen to these and our athletes that are seasoned, I suppose, and almost got this nutrition thing down pat, is really important to know that they also have a great smorgasbord of options up their sleeve just in case, because it never just goes perfectly right.
Exactly. And the Twix, I like that. That would be good. I can understand that.
Yeah, the chocolate would melt on a hot day, though, right? Like,
yeah, I think I could cope with that. It'd be right. By the time you're at that stage, you just feed me, please.
Licking the wrapper. Yeah, licking the wrapper. I can see you licking the wrapper going over there.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, mate. Well, it is, we are talking nutrition. It is time to get actually an expert on the show instead of listening to us talk about licking wrappers. So, Marewa, welcome back, Marewa, to our Kathmandu Coast to Coast podcast. You're almost a seasoned professional at this.
Yeah, I'm a seasoned professional at the podcast. I still haven't made it to the actual event, but next year.
You'll get there.
Paddle?
Get there.
Well, not next year, the year after. My husband's next year, so I'm in line.
Have you ever paddled before?
Well, I do actually have my grade 2 certificate. The grade 2 certificate.
Okay. Oh, we might need to talk after this podcast. Yeah, I think that's all we need. We just need to borrow Tessa's boat off whoever she's lent it to.
What she's saying is you can't just get them in a Weet-Bix box. You just don't get a grade 2 certificate in a Weet-Bix packet, mate. You have to actually earn it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
I actually just had an idea though. You should take some applications and then let's do I'm not involved, but do a live podcast and you can speed date all the applications. And the people can vote.
You're a media genius.
We will vote the followers who we decide should be your teammate.
Speed, yeah.
Anyway,
should we be shortlisting them though? Should we be paddle testing them and shortlisting them first?
No, just via podcast. That should be.
I think Angus, it will also come down to the fact that we get any applicants. Like if there's more than if there's only 4 or 5, we'll probably take them all. If we're lucky to get that many. So yeah. So no, great.
Actually, maybe you know what we should do. Actually, I've just had another great idea. We should get a copy of Glen Currie's wait list. That's now no longer. We may find a good candidate that hasn't made the wait list.
Yeah. I like it. All right,
you could potentially make some money out of this. If there's a lot of people wanting to do it. Maybe we could auction it off.
There we go. Yeah, for Corinne's charity. Maybe. I like it. How good. Oh, well, let's talk some nutrition. I've had a bit of a look back because we've done a bit of nutrition on the podcast in the past. Like season 4, episode 3 was really good with Conrad, and we also talked to you last year as well. Season 5, episode 5. So if you're listening to this and haven't heard everything about nutrition, definitely go back to those podcasts, and we have done more before that as well. But so I guess I've been over those, and so today I want to sort of shoot a few different questions at you, potentially of things that we haven't talked about so much. And one of those ones that sort of popped into my head was a wee bit about travel nutrition, because it is a thing. Like just about everybody, other than those living in Greymouth or Hokitika, will pretty much have to travel to the event over quite a long time if you're coming from overseas, etc. So, that's a key element as well, isn't it? To actually make sure that you look after yourself during that time, to make sure that you can actually perform, because you're probably going to arrive on Thursday and just start racing on Friday for a lot of people. So what do we need to think about there, Marewa?
Yeah, I think that comes down to the type of person you are and also how far you're coming, obviously. So if you're coming domestically within New Zealand, you can pack your lunch, you can pre-plan dinners and things for your travel so that the food you're consuming is what you're used to and what you actually want. There's also the type of athlete that just loves going on a roadie and getting a thick shake or a pie or fish and chips and kaikoura. So there's kind of 2 ways to look at it. You can either DIY it or enjoy the carbo loading on your way to Greymouth. So I think there's probably a happy medium between both of those options. Obviously, if you're coming from overseas, it's really tricky as well, but hydration would be the key thing throughout all those different things. And I think that's anything to do with travel and changing locations, is you've just got to make sure you stay hydrated and get some good sleep in.
Yeah, that's really good advice. I think the other one is just make sure I like that lunchbox idea as well. Even if you have your pies and your milkshakes and things, just to make sure you don't go long periods with not much at all, to make sure you're looking after yourself in between.
Yeah, absolutely. And half the fun of doing one of these events is, as you said, is eating around it. So make the most of it.
Yeah, good stuff. Nice. And another question that we haven't really dived too much into in the past is heat. And it can be a real challenge, especially probably more for the 2-day athletes and those in the afternoon on the run, because it can get hot, especially as you're battling down the Minga, and that is tough as you're just battling on. How should we, I guess, adjust our race day nutrition strategy to make sure that we look after ourselves if it does get hot, both across the event?
Cool. I think that actually starts before the race, and that's a couple of days before the race, having a wee look at I know there'll be a lot of talk about the weather, what the course conditions will be, but it's about taking that on board if it's going to look like it's going to be a hot day. And as we know, the weather's so changeable, but you sort of get an idea of the temperature sort of range. It's really taking that on board starting 2 days before and actually hydrating to probably larger amounts than you're used to hydrating. So if you would have 2 liters a day, maybe you're going. Speaking of hydration, do we have a sponsor? We're looking
at race fuel.
Increasing that daily hydration. That's where you need the electrolytes, you need the carbohydrates to help with that hydration process. So when you're starting this event, you're actually already really hydrated. And then you're not waiting, when it comes to race day, you're not waiting till hours into the race where it starts to get hot. You're actually knowing your hydration aims and you're meeting them in the morning when it's cool. And maybe you're not actually that thirsty because you don't have that thirst drive. So that's the key thing with hydration, is starting early and knowing your amounts, your aims hourly, and actually meeting them from the start. Because as you know, once you start dehydrating, it's bloody hard to get back from that. And the associated fatigue. So it's really preempting all of that stuff and going at it early. Maybe also extra electrolytes if you're a higher sweater. So I think we're actually, the time gap we have between now and race is such a good amount of time to actually practice, find out what you need to do for race day and put it into practice now, so you know what you can do and what you can achieve come race day. So now's quite a vital piece of the journey in terms of nutrition planning and what you're going to do for race day, I think.
Yeah, that's awesome.
What about Rich? Sorry, what about we talk about all of this nutrition and starting early and we're talking about going the whole day, right? What about us team people who are only doing a single leg on a, let's say the first bike ride on the day? How do I fuel for that? Like, obviously, I fuel the night before and things. What's the recommendation on the bike on the day? Are we just anything goes because we're actually only do have that 2-hour window or 3-hour window or whatever it's going to be?
Yeah, I think you're possibly a little bit more relaxed because you don't have such a high intensity amount of exercise for such a long time. But again, it's just doing the things right for that shorter amount of time and then recovering properly, because obviously you've got to back it up the next day, right? With your next
piece,
joint,
whatever that
you're
might
doing.
be.
Yeah, your next unknown in your team. So yeah, it's about. I think the importance may be lower, but again, it depends what you're out there to do. If you just say wanting to get through it or do it properly, I guess. And with an event like Coast to Coast, we invest so much into it when we enter it. We invest time, we invest money, we invest training. It's such a big investment. And I think nutrition sometimes can be a little bit left behind and maybe something that doesn't get invested in when really the investment relative is relatively low, to find out what you need as an athlete and to really set you up for success in whatever event you're doing.
Yeah, I like it. I've got a question coming back to the hydration, like a couple of days before. I guess there's also a balance. We don't want to just drink lots and then have to go to the toilet every 15 minutes as well. By actually having a sports drink with some electrolytes in it, does it help us like hydrate more? Or is it or is it just to make sure that we're hydrating properly at that level and just maintaining that through?
Yeah, it does, because it's got electrolytes in it and the carbohydrates, which help you retain the fluid into your body. So it's not just essentially getting flushed right through. But like anything, if we're going to drink more than we need, then we will need to go to the bathroom more. But I think that's a positive effect. And also checking the color of your urine. If it's clear, that means that we tend to be in a really nice hydrated state, or sort of that light color. Whereas if we're getting to darker, particularly, it's something probably to look at in this while you're training. If you're waking up every morning and your pee is really dark, some people might have multivitamins and things that can affect that, but if you're waking up and your pee is really dark, that's actually a sign that you're probably not hydrating enough over the longer term anyway. So coming back to race day and the build up, yes, you'll probably pee more, but at the same time, if you know you're nice and hydrated, you're starting at the right point in your journey for the event.
Yeah, nice. Sports drinks, like the race fuel that Tessa was talking about earlier, I've used it this last year. And one thing about it, as Tessa talked about, it's sort of slow release. It kind of helps you feel a bit fuller along the way as well. But those that are going to be out on the course for a significant period of time, you need food, like actual food, to be able to sort of keep yourself rolling. What are some examples of what we could be having on the bike and on the run and on the kayak from your perspective?
Great question. And again, it's such a personal question. It's what you like. Like you get some athletes that are just like, I hate sugar. I'm just so sick of sugar. And then for them, then maybe a bacon and egg pie would be perfect because you've got your saltiness and your protein in there for that longer period of time. Again, bagels might be good because they don't have that lots of fiber. So I guess we're trying to avoid foods that carry a lot of fiber with them so that they're not too heavy in our stomach or slower to digest. So things like bagels, bars might be another good one, bacon and egg pie. It really depends what you like. Potatoes, I've heard of people taking. Dehydrated meals can be another option. Yeah, it really is personal preference, what you've practiced with on your training expeditions, and also, again, having some options, because as we just talked about before, you don't necessarily like what you like in training. Your preferences can change, which can make for a long day out.
Yes, yeah, exactly. No, good. Yeah, that's fantastic advice. And what about breakfast? Can be a bit of an issue as well, like in terms of actually making sure your breakfast, like especially if you're finding it hard to get down, like chew and eat in the morning, and it also staying down because I've got some extra nerves and I'm feeling like I'm going to be sick. Do I even need breakfast? Like, what are your breakfast sort of ideas and advice around that?
Yeah, I think technically for such a long day out, it would be optimal to start with something in your stomach. But then there are those athletes that just can't, are so nervous, or they can't, it doesn't help them if they've got something in their stomach. And it's such an early start anyway that the sleep is quite important. So you don't want to be getting up at midnight just to get breakfast on board. So if you are one of those athletes, I would just say put more energy into the day before and the night. So that might mean a snack before dinner. It might mean the biggest dinner you can have. And then it might mean a dessert and then maybe another dessert. You've really got to preempt what you might be missing out on the next day. Again, ideally breakfast is awesome, but go for things that you feel good on you, like cereal, if that feels good. There's no hard and fast rule about what you have. Just try and have it a couple of hours before, which gives your body time to digest it. Try and relax. Those race day nerves are so, they impact our digestion more than you'd think. They're just, if you can relax and just let your body do what it needs to do to get that fuel absorb into you, then you'll get much more out of it. So if you can't eat a big breakfast, go for something easy like a smoothie or even a chocolate milk or something, which might make some people go, oh, yuck, that's the worst thing. But, bottle of Fanta, I don't know.
Yeah, good. No, I like it. And as you mentioned before, is that fiber content. Maybe we drop the fiber content down so then it's not sitting so heavily in our stomach, especially because for not everybody, like Angus isn't going to be starting with a run, but that run at the start of the event is pretty tough. So you don't want a heavy breakfast that you have to deal with, because then that's going to affect your performance as well, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Same with fat, protein, they're a bit slower to absorb. So we just try and say something, nice and quick to absorb. So I don't know, I always come back to Nutella on toast because it tastes good, bit of butter in there. Just, it's like a comfort food that's easy to get down when you're feeling a bit edgy about what you're doing. So yeah. Yeah,
good stuff. What about nutrition to help cramping? It's always a big one, the old cramping side of things, with our cramp stop and things that are flying around the place. So primarily we need to look at our training from my perspective, and have we prepared for the intensity, duration, type of movement that we're going to do on race day. But nutrition is also part of the sort of answer as well, isn't it? So what are some nutritional products that might also help that cramping that you guys have got available there?
Yeah, I think you've brought up a really good point. It is training and your body's adaptation to the stress you're putting it under. So it's really important to try and tackle that in your training and realize when it comes to race day what level of intensity you are going at. I think in terms of nutrition, there's a few things you can do in the lead up as well, like having plenty of salt with your meals. We do a product that is an electrolyte capsule that's got all our electrolytes in it that we lose in our sweat. So you swallow it like a Panadol. I know some people think you chuck it in your drink and it dissolves, which it can, but it will just make your drink taste really salty. So the idea of that is that you can get extra electrolytes into your nutrition without the taste of them. So without making your sports drink taste salty. So they're an idea that you can load on pre-race. You can also take them during the race. So one every hour. If you're a super high cramper, then it might be every half hour, but it depends what other salts are coming into your race plan as well. So back to the race fuel that Tessa mentioned before, that is super high in electrolytes. So it has 3 times per serve as the amount we have in our normal hydration. So it is made for that really high intensity, high sweat load to, I guess, replace those. So it's important to kind of know where your electrolytes are coming from. Lots of people think gels have electrolytes in them. It might be on the label, but it's just a tiny token little bit. So it's not actually an electrolyte provider. So that's have a read of your labels, what you're actually using, and figure out what has electrolytes in them, and just make sure we're heavy enough to replace what we're losing. I think in hydration, it's all very well having a sports drink that contains electrolytes, but Coast to Coast is one of those events where we don't just drink sports drink the whole way through. I know you rely heavily on the water from the rivers. So again, you've got to fill that piece of the puzzle with another source of electrolytes as you're going. And it's definitely easier to prevent cramp than once you get that, it's really hard to stay on top of. So, yeah.
Yeah, nice. Fantastic. What about magnesium? Is that part of that as well? Obviously, that's part of your salt tablets, but supplementing with that beforehand, is that part of it as well?
We've got another product.
You've
just reminded me. We actually just brought out a really high strength magnesium. So it's a magnesium bisglycinate. So it's got really high elemental magnesium that your body is really bioavailable, which means your body can use it. So particularly those 2 days, you need to keep going. At the end of the day, you do need to be taking like a magnesium or a supplement to help get through that and that recovery as well.
Yeah, cool. So have a play with that as well. I've found that that's made a big difference for my, since you've given it for me to have a bit of a try, the magnesium in the days leading up to competing in a hard event. So that's awesome, Marewa. Anything else to share or add to our nutrition chat today?
Good question. I think it just goes back to what Glen said at the start. It's about, now's the time we're having fun with this. Get out there, train, get the pie with your mates, but figure out what works for you and what, when you've got a high intensity training, maybe that's the time to actually figure out your supplements and what you need to use. Supplements can be super expensive when you're doing an event like this. It does add up, the cost that you invest in them. So I think it is really important that obviously you don't go out every session smashing supplements that are expensive and costly. It's about prioritizing what you're going to do on race day and finding the right parts of your training to practice those, so that when it does come to race day, you're not pulling out all these supplements that you've never actually tried or you don't know if they work under the conditions. So now's the time to invest in a nutritionist, a dietitian. There's some amazing ones around. Jump in the Coast to Coast Facebook group. You have really good resources as well. Put the investment into yourself now, and I think it will pay dividends in your training leading up and also that race day nutrition as well.
Perfect. Love it, Marewa. Hey, thank you so much for your time. And if you do happen to come across the boat, maybe we could see you for some speed dating later on.
Oh, yes. I'll get back to you.
I feel like by tomorrow morning, Marewa is going to send in the whole how the speed dating is going to work, what the format's going to be, how long we're going to get, the whole, and she'll have the application forms out there on the interweb by morning tea.
Yeah.
Oh, so good.
We're not live. I think we're fine. We'll carry on. Nice to meet you, Marewa. Take care.
Hey, thanks for having me. See you.
Catch up.
Yes.
See ya. The practice of, as Marewa says, the practice of eating and working out what your nutrition is needs to be backed up with the practice of actually eating it. And when I say that, like I think about that first bike ride and really going back to our bunch riding training that we've got. And if you haven't done any bunch riding, then you really need to go and get yourself in one and feel comfortable, because when you get to that first bunch ride, you might think, well, I'm going to eat this bar and I'm going to eat this and I'm going to drink that as I'm going along. But if you're nervous in the bunch and you're not comfortable in the bunch, then you won't actually get yourself to eat that, because you'll be too busy worrying about what's going on around you and not, not settled enough to actually be able to eat. So there's sort of two things there, isn't there? There's like work out what works, but work out how you're going to get it in at the same time.
Absolutely. Great advice. Absolutely. And if you're worried about that and it's not working for you, go for a Camelback rather than drink bottles. So it's hands-free nutrition and it's much easier for you to get in. But yeah, it goes back to that. How am I going to do it? But also the intensity. Can I actually eat this thing or drink this thing while I'm pushing fast as well? So yeah, practice. Sorry, Angus.
Oh, I was going to say, I thought you must have had like a cue sheet there from Marewa, the way you were dropping the new products in there. I thought maybe you must have had a cue sheet going on there or something. Somebody's slipping some product in the back door there somehow.
Exactly. She just wrote the questions I need to ask. No. Have you got any questions for me for the handbook? You've been
mate, I've been looking in this handbook as we've been going along here. Yeah. I got one for you, because I'm not the greatest runner and occasionally need a little bit of assistance. Not that I'm going to be doing any running. Actually, before I get to my question, I'm going to this is very important while we look for a kayaker, that they need to know they've got 3Ks to run off the beach to get to me, because I'm not doing the run off the beach.
That's part of the speed dating questions, Angus. Yes.
That's right. Anyway. Am I allowed any hiking poles, mate? Can I throw a hiking pole in my backpack and just like whip it out as I'm going up the middle there?
I actually tried this a few years ago, the old hiking poles, because it does help you like to get along faster, especially when your legs are shot to bits. And there is bits that you can actually open up and run, and it does help up those sort of climby bits. But leafing through the handbook, you're actually not. Page 19. Look it up. You're not able to do that, and I think it's probably a safety thing. If everybody was having poles, there'd be the old pole in the eye and bits and pieces going on. So I assume that if poles are allowed, then you need to have safety glasses for the mountain run as well.
So when you said you tried it, that was during a race or just?
No, that was just training. I was like, well, where you're thinking about how can I go a little bit quicker? I wonder if these could go. And then looked in the old handbook, and Glen has already covered that off, so I can't do that. It's disappointing. Page 19.
Oh, good stuff, mate. Well, that's another absolute cracker of a Coast to Coast episode. There's been a couple of bombshells dropped along the way, and I guess officially the hunt begins for our new paddler for our teammate. And
that's right.
A team of three is no good with two, apparently.
There becomes a team of two, and then we have to figure out paper, scissors, rock who's going to do the paddling bit. So I think that's going to be.
I can't see why you can't. I still don't see why you can't do the run and the paddle. I just don't understand.
Well, we become unranked then. We can, but we're unranked. We're like, I'm sort of allowing this.
Let me guess, that's in the handbook somewhere.
Probably in the handbook, yeah. I'm not sure what page it is, but let's assume it's probably in the handbook. Yeah. So a big thank you to Glen, Tessa, Corinne, and Marewa for joining us. And another fantastic episode. And get yourself well at Angus. Look after yourself. Don't work too hard. And looking forward to our next podcast and seeing how you're getting on.
Absolutely. And a big thank you to all of you out there that have tuned in, that have listened, that have watched, that are getting hopefully something out of this and getting themselves organised for a big summer. Christmas is coming, so maybe a few days off here and there. Of course, a big thank you to Kathmandu for everything that they do for the Coast to Coast, for enabling this podcast, to Team CP, for us, for you, Richard, for being here, to be everything we can be for everybody out there. It's an absolute true pleasure. And thank you very much once again. And we'll see you. And then, are we in the new year? Will we be?
We'll see at some point. It'll be pretty soon, no doubt. I'm actually not sure, but it's probably in the handbook.
It's probably in the handbook. Thanks, team. Good night, everybody.
Cheers.